and welcome to Your Coaching Journey, a podcast for doctors about coaching. Whether you're a coaching doctor, a doctor who is learning to coach, or a doctor who'd like to build coaching into your professional life, then this is the podcast for you.
Hi, I'm Helen Leathers, and with me today is my business partner and podcast co-host, Tom Dillon. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
Was my introduction chirpy enough for you?
It was lovely, thank you very much.
Excellent.
I'm glad we started again.
Apparently the first one I did was a little dull, so here we are.
Dull was not a word I used.
Flat.
Flat. What are we talking about today, Helen?
Today we are going to be exploring the topic of stress.
Stress. We were going to do this before, but we got a bit stressed about it, didn't we, and decided not to.
Yes, we've said a few times that we were going to do it, so
here we are.
Here we are. It's something that clients might bring to the coaching space, perhaps, if they're stressed at work, if they've got a particular event that's happened in their life. So we thought it would be useful.
I think it's very common.
I think it's very common.
The fact someone's in a coaching room probably means they're stressed about something somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people think generally people are going to come for something to change or a goal to strive for, but it might be they want to change the thing that's causing them stress.
Yeah. Well, change is stressful as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So I thought we could start with an understanding of what stress is. I mean, we're working with doctors, so they'll probably have a pretty good understanding of what it is from a physiological perspective and also probably from, first-hand experience.
True, yes. All of them. But it's good to recap.
Yeah. So I think, first of all, it's really important to say that stress is normal.
And sometimes useful.
Yeah.
Good.
So let's touch on that first sometimes helpful stress, which has got a name. It's eustress.
Eustress.
Not you stress me out.
Eustress, I'm not for stressing. Wow. That was a bit of channeling Margaret Thatcher then, wasn't it? You stress if you want to. I'm not for stressing.
Very good.
She didn't say that.
No.
You turn if you want to, she said.
I'm not for turning. So eustress, let's get back on track. Eustress is EU stress, that's how it's spelled.
European Union stress.
Yes, with that as well. So that's the helpful kind. That's the positive stress. Something that perhaps inspires us, puts us under pressure. It could be a job promotion that's quite exciting, but also, stressful. It could be running a marathon. You've done a marathon.
Yeah. I don't think marathon running is stressful particularly. It's not. I think I probably felt more stressed at school because I was a sprinter at school, and that was always stressful being on the start line of a sprint. Like that's because you've got to go, haven't you? It's just energy. Whereas marathon running is kind of a bit. Yeah, it's just a long slog.
So it's helpful in that when you're on that starting line, it's what gets you going, pushes you off almost. Yeah. So we might even feel and interpret that stress as a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Yeah. Whereas I think other stress is more of the nervous.
Yeah, and thinking about my marathon running, there was no stress because I was going to do it very slowly anyway.
Yeah, fair enough.
There was no pressure. No one was expecting anything of me. It was just, whereas I guess if you were an elite marathon runner, you would feel that.
Yeah.
Pressure, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So perhaps, that eustress is that intermingling of opportunity, excitement.
I think standing on stage, maybe about to give a presentation or sing or something.
Yeah.
You would definitely have that.
I wouldn't be on a stage trying to sing, but
But in terms of presentations and things, it actually gives you that bit of energy, doesn't it? It lifts you. That bit of adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
People talk about. I definitely get the adrenaline rush. I get a dry mouth, which isn't helpful. But I definitely feel more alert and more agile because I've got that adrenaline.
Yeah, so it's really useful.
Yeah.
To give your talk a little bit more energy and yeah. So that's the positive side of stress, which useful. It's unlikely that that's going to be something else I was going to bring to the coaching space. So then we've got the opposite negative type of stress. Distress.
which is strange because I don't think anyone ever uses the word distress, do they, to describe, they just say I'm stressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And distress as a word only really crops up when someone is perhaps showing emotion around their stress.
Yeah.
If they become distressed in the moment, and there's tears and snot and all sorts of things.
Like a small child.
Well, no, but just, it gets messy when people are distressed, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can recount or recall people in the coaching room that have been distressed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But one or two that have been distressed, whereas most coachees that come into the coaching room, as I say, I think they would perhaps say they have stress.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Funny nuance on those
But then we
words.
don't use the word eustress either, do we?
No, we don't. We just say, oh, I'm under a bit of pressure, but it makes me perform better. It makes me get to that deadline. Yeah. And that negative stress, that distress, if we go to the correct terminology of it, that can have adverse effects on us, on our mind and our body, can't it? Depending on whether it's short-term, acute, or chronic, long-term stress.
Yeah, I guess the short-term stress, again, is perhaps not as harmful.
No, if the short-term stress is short-term.
It's that analogy of, a zebra munching the grass and a lion approaching. And once the lion starts running, the zebra starts running. But once the lion has stopped running because it's eaten something else or just given up, the zebra goes back to that homeostasis of not being stressed anymore. And that's fine. Zebras live quite healthy lives for being eaten by lions. So, that's fine, isn't it? We can cope with that.
Yeah, that's really what the stress response is for. So that short-term stress that comes and goes quite quickly, whether it's a lion or something else. I mean, hopefully we won't be coming across lions. I thought you were going to do your big cat impression then.
No.
So what you've mentioned there is the body, the zebra, getting away from the lion. It's having a physiological response, a stress response, where adrenaline, cortisol is being released, and that's for the zebra to get away or to fight, although I'm not sure a zebra would have much luck fighting.
They kick.
They kick.
They do.
Yeah.
I think there's a danger for lions actually being kicked in the face by a zebra.
I'm sure. It's probably on their risk assessment when they think, shall I chase that zebra? But as a good example, isn't it? Because in order to kick and fight or run, that zebra is going to need energy. It's going to need sugar so that its muscles can fire and so on. So we've got this physiological response of increased heart rate, blood flow to the muscles, sugar being released, rapid breathing, and that hyper alertness that you mentioned when you find useful on stage. And we also understand that our non-essential functions within our body shut down temporarily, don't they? So our body doesn't need to digest in that moment or to...
Which is why my mouth goes dry.
Yeah.
The digestion system isn't required when in fight or flight.
Yeah. And then when it's over, our parasympathetic nervous system kicks in. It's a lot slower to respond, but it calms everything down and, like you say, brings our zebras and ourselves back to homeostasis and nice and calm.
Yeah. And I think we've all experienced that in one form or another, haven't we? So it happens on the road if something is happening.
Yeah.
I was just talking to my son the other day about this. We were driving along a road near to us and a dual carriageway. I said, it wasn't so long ago, a couple of years ago, I was driving along this dual carriageway and a car was suddenly coming the other way in the outside, like I was in the outside lane and there was a car suddenly coming towards me at speed. So I had to kind of quickly swerve into the inside lane. Just managed to do it without going off the road. But yeah.
I think that was when we just met. I remember you telling me about that.
Didn't slow down at all. It was very strange. But yes, that definitely got the fight or flight response going. But yeah, hyperalertness, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because I think you kind of have a tunnel vision. So you just focused on what's going on. I couldn't tell you anything else that was going on. So, and apparently your hearing shuts down as well. So again, that you don't need to focus on listening. It's a weird phenomenon. Yeah.
That is odd, because I would think hearing would potentially be one of the first things you used in order to gain the information that something was going on.
Yeah,
if you were outside. And
I think that's a precursor to the fight or flight. So it's the surprise of, something's happening. It's that, what is it? And it could turn out to be, if you think about the example's always used of a rustle in the trees.
Yes.
Could be a rabbit. And if it's a rabbit, you don't need to have your fight or flight response. If it's a bear, then you do.
Yeah.
But it's that initial surprise is where the hearing and your vision suddenly, you're looking everywhere. But once you're in danger and you know you're in danger, you're only looking in one direction, potentially. If a flight response, you're just looking at where you're going to get away. And
obviously, other stress responses are available. We're not going to go into all of them right now, but we're just going to touch on the surface of this. But so you don't hear, and that's really interesting, isn't it? That you don't.
Yeah, that's just it. I think your vision becomes very tunneled and just need to get away, or very focused on the person you're going to fight or the thing you're going to fight. So you're probably not taking in everything around you. Yeah.
But it should be temporary.
Yes.
Once the situation has gone, once the danger has passed, as I say, that parasympathetic nervous system kicks in and calms everything to a nice relaxed state. How long did it take for you to calm down after that incident?
Oh, it's quite a while.
It takes a bit longer, doesn't it?
I'm still driving as well. Yeah, it's probably a few minutes. But then you are back, aren't you? Although, obviously, as humans, and one of the reasons why chronic stress is so harmful for us is that we have the ability to conjure up that event time and again, don't we? So I'm sure over the next few days, I would have revisited that and gone, oh God, what if the car on the inside of me had been right next to me, so I couldn't have So yeah, lots of replaying of it and what might have been.
Yeah, we have these wonderful minds that help us to think, but in those moments that's not useful because we think about and overthink about those moments.
And that really isn't useful, is it?
No. And that leads us on to that chronic stress idea.
Yeah, so, and I think, in the workplace, obviously for medics, they might well be experiencing stress time and again, so that acute stress might be happening for them more so than it would for other people in normal life. I mean, it depends on your workplace, I guess. Yeah. People in normal life might have very stressful workplaces as well, but I think, so for a GP who is under time pressure stress, they might constantly be experiencing that fight or flight stress just because they're behind and they're trying to get through their workload, which might well be impossible in the time constraints that they have. So,
yeah. Do you remember the time that I got very stressed about our website?
Oh, yes.
I managed.
You were very stressed.
I had a proper fight or flight response, didn't I?
Yeah. You thought you'd lost it.
I thought I'd lost the whole website. And it was a real amygdala hijack that I couldn't. And I remember you sitting there as calm as anything, and I just could not really even articulate what was going on.
Yeah, I bet that was really annoying, that I was quite calm about it all.
Well, there was a part of my brain that was going, why are you so calm? And the other part of my brain was freaking out.
Yeah. I think I just trusted that it would be there somewhere.
Well, it really wasn't a life or death situation.
No. Well, but a lot of work. If it wasn't there, if you had lost it, it would have.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I've mentioned that amygdala hijack, and that's where the amygdala is the part of the brain that releases those hormones, and it's where our prefrontal cortex, our rational reasoning part, isn't really able to process anything. It's being hijacked by this panic.
So the amygdala is a very small almond-shaped part of the brain. There's two of them. The amygdalae. I don't know how you say it. But there's two of them anyway. And they are activated when we have that fight or flight response. So they are part of the limbic system, but they don't release anything. They kind of set off that reaction. So the adrenal gland produces produces the adrenaline. And so, but it's part of that system that, and we call it the amygdala hijack because that is the part of the brain that takes over. And it suppresses the prefrontal cortex, so we no longer have that rational thought.
Of the website will come back. It will be fine. No one's going to die. Yeah. And it did. It did come back. Yeah. But it was an interesting moment. Let's get away from my website issues and let's think about chronic stress. And you've already touched on that a little bit. And that's the stress that lasts for a longer period of time. Perhaps years for some people. So people may experience chronic stress if they've got an ongoing money problem, difficulties in relationship, trouble at work, a stressful work environment. You know, we're working with doctors who are in emergency medicine, under time pressures, all of those things. And equally, their patients will be under stress with health concerns and so on. And chronic stress comes up then when there's constantly that stressor, that trigger. So it would be like the lion was constantly watching, ready to pounce. Or that stress response is being reactivated over and over and over again, and people don't get that time to reset back to calm at all, or for a decent amount of time. And for some people, even if the stressor isn't there, if they're not able to calm their nervous system down, and it's what's termed as dysregulated, they stay on hyper alert mode. That's the parasympathetic nervous system sort of not doing its job properly for whatever reason and not getting us back to balance. So that can have that long-term impact on us physiologically and emotionally and mentally.
I think it's predominantly because of the thinking that people are doing that they keep them, unless there is a constant trigger that is causing the stress. But I think, as we were saying earlier, it's that ability to revisit the problem and then worry about it, and worry about it potentially happening again, or to project into the future and have that anxiety about what might happen. So it could be for a GP that something has happened in the surgery that day, that they suddenly wake up in the middle of the night and worry about perhaps having missed something, or I don't know, not got round to doing something, or just a worry about a particular patient, and perhaps worried about a complaint, all sorts of things that might come into their mind that are not actually, there is no stress, there's nothing happening, you're just lying in bed, but you revisit something that causes the stress. Yeah. And I think that is a big stimulus for the actual stress, is the thinking that goes on. Yeah,
our clever brains that can have a negative impact on us sometimes and not be helpful.
Yeah, I think the anxiety stuff is just as making predictions, isn't it?
Yeah, storytelling.
Yeah. And obviously telling unhelpful stories.
Yes.
I think we both got a lot better at telling ourselves positive stories.
Yes.
With the possibility of there being good outcomes, bad outcomes, we never know. We don't know. It's like Schrodinger's cat. It's an unknown. But a lot of the time we go to that negative, this could happen. This could be a catastrophe. But I think we've just got better at saying, well, I'm telling myself this story because we don't know. And I might as well tell myself a good story. Yeah, absolutely. And I was looking at some bits and pieces online this week, and I noticed that the World Health Organization on their website says that stress is a natural human response that prompts us to address challenges and threats in our lives. Everyone experiences stress to some degree, and the way we respond to stress, however, makes a big difference to our overall well-being. And I think that's what you're saying there, isn't it? That if we can handle our response to stress and manage our thinking, then we can get out of that cycle of constantly being in that stressful place. Yeah. And obviously if we're in a situation, so maybe within an organisation or a system where we are being exposed to constant stressors, that's not going to be particularly helpful. So it could well be that the environment is not serving us well in terms of our stress, and that's something to recognise sometimes it's not just about our thinking. There may well be things going on that are not helpful to us.
Yeah, things that are outside of our control. Yeah.
But then if they're outside of our control, why worry?
But people will.
They will.
They will. And, maybe that's something that we can help in the coaching room with, is getting to the point where they get to why worry.
Yeah. I'm coaching someone at the moment who's very stressed about a colleague and just has a stress response to his colleague being present, which,
not helpful.
but it's all in his head. There's nothing actually happening. The colleague isn't about to attack him or anything. It's just his presence just causes him to tense up. So, all in our heads a lot of the time. But that's not to say that people don't have stress going on around them, things that cause them stress.
And obviously, we're not going to be diagnosing stress in the coaching room. That's not our job. People will recognise generally if something is stressing them out, or they might recognise they need to relax more, or perhaps to respond differently, like in that situation that you've mentioned there, that someone's been stressed by a particular person. You might recognise that that's an issue. So what would you say is a useful tool or process for helping our coachees deal with stress? Yeah.
I think being able to identify the cause of the stress is the first thing, and whether that's real or not, I think that's very important. And if they're struggling, if they're just, I'm just stressed, I think actually using the coaching wheel, what we term the wheel of life, but actually creating a wheel of stress can be really helpful. So let's just identify all the things. So if it's a workplace situation, what is it within the workplace that actually causes you stress? And just listing those out and then being able to score them. On the wheel, we have a score 1 to 10. So just where are you on that? And it may be that some things that they think are causing them stress are actually quite low down. Maybe it's only a 2 out of 10 for stress, but it's there in their head that is something causing them stress. So I think just in terms of being able to identify what the stressors are, I think that could be really helpful.
I like that. And I think that where a lot of people will see coaching always being very positive, look at the positives, it's important to look at the things that are the problem as well sometimes, to get that realistic perspective on them. Yeah,
if we bring them out, get them on the table, have a look at them, and just see whether they are actually real stressors or not. And then I think if we've got someone that we perhaps think is telling themselves a story, and that the stressor may be in their head rather than real, so that the ABCDE model that comes from cognitive behavioral coaching. So what's the activating event? What's your belief about this event? What's the consequence, which will probably be stress? And then being able to just discuss that with them to get to a good place, to get to a better understanding of what's actually going on, might result in them having a better emotional response and removing the stress. So I think that can be really helpful. And on the cognitive behavioral front, the SPACE model could be really helpful in terms of, okay, when this happens, when you have this stress, what's going on for you? What is the emotion? Because stress isn't really the emotion, is it? There's some emotion so it might be fear, it might be anger, that sits underneath that. So understanding that, understanding the physiology, understanding their thinking, and understand what action they're taking or could be taking to help resolve it. So I think that's really useful. I think in social situations, workplace, perhaps the SCARF model could be really good. So that understanding what the stressor is that's producing a threat response for you. So back to the fight or flight stuff. So it could be your status could be being impacted. It could be certainty, autonomy, relatedness, or fairness. So any of those things within a social group could be a domain that is causing you stress. So again, useful to recognise what that is.
And all models we cover on our transformational coaching diploma.
And we've done quite a lot of podcasts.
We have.
So we've certainly recorded a SPACE model podcast and a SCARF model podcast. So
yeah. Absolutely. And I think we're going to do an ABCDE model soon. So
some point.
But I felt sure you were going to head for Gestalt there.
Gestalt. I think Gestalt is useful to bring the problem into the room and to, again, give it a bit of an airing. So maybe some sort of empty chair exercise where, let's bring that into the room and let's see what happens. So that can be really useful, yeah.
Yeah, getting those perspectives. And I think the other elements that might help coachees are to explore that change. What would change look like in their life? Perhaps their work-life balance, how they would like things to look if the stress wasn't in their lives. That might be quite interesting to explore as well. What would you like to have happen?
Yeah, definitely. Although, like I say, change can be a cause of stress. It may well be.
Yeah.
They come with the change they want to make in their life, but the idea of making change or just telling someone else about the change they want to make could be causing them stress.
Yes. And in those situations, it may be that we help them to develop a strategy for managing stress.
Yeah.
That could be part of the coaching process.
Again, working through, maybe in a Gestalt way of bringing you into the room and having that conversation in the room. So if they're struggling to think about, so if someone wanted to leave a workplace but worried about letting everyone down and all of that stuff people worry about when leaving workplaces, good to have that conversation in the room and talk it through. Even if it's just a conversation between the different parts of themselves, that can help to clarify things and bring them to a place of making the decision to change.
Yeah. And there is that element where we might be coaching someone around how to manage their stress, how to look after themselves, get that adrenaline out of their bodies. And I think that's one of the things I quite like about embodiment work. We can get to start to feel things in our body and move our bodies, and that can be really useful. And I know I've worked with people on visualization, breathing exercises. I think you've done that with some clients as well, haven't you? Explored some breathing exercises.
Yeah, quite often bring some breathing into the room.
Yeah, it's always useful to breathe. And that helps to trigger that parasympathetic nervous system and get everything back to calm.
Yeah, and that is useful to recognise within the fight or flight response in order to get back to homeostasis. Breathing really is the only thing we can control. We can't control our heart rate.
No.
That does its own thing. But by breathing, that will bring about that restoration of homeostasis and will actually bring our heart rate down. So the two are connected.
Yeah.
So by breathing, we will bring our heart rate. By breathing slowly, deliberately, we will bring our heart rate down.
And I think, we talk a lot about not being directive and not being leading in our coaching conversations, but sharing that information with people who may not have thought about how they can manage their stress can be, that's okay, isn't it? To share that information and then coach around how they could use that. I think also helping them to look for new resources to help them deal with a situation or manage that stress, looking for support within their network, their family, their friends. That can be useful as well in the coaching space. Even perhaps learning new hobbies or learning new skills, finding new hobbies, that kind of thing. I think the more you bring in those positive experiences into your life, that can really help not only with a work-life balance, but I think with that overall sense of well-being that can be useful in combating stress.
Yeah, and I think understanding boundaries and values, priorities, quite often people get very stressed about their values not being honoured. So understanding their own values and then having some boundaries around those as well can be really helpful. So boundary setting is definitely something that can help people to alleviate stress, especially if they're perhaps a bit of a rescuer, a bit of a people pleaser, and they're taking on far more than they should be taking on. And that could be at work or at home, but just being able to set boundaries and stick to their boundaries can relieve an awful lot of stress.
Definitely. And I think there's an element as well that stress often comes from feeling out of control.
Yes, we mentioned this earlier, didn't we? That if it is outside someone's control, why worry about it? But people do. It's within their zone of concern, but not perhaps their zone of control. But if it is outside your zone of control, there isn't anything you can do about it. What's that line in Sunscreen? That, don't worry. Or worry, but know that it's about as useful in solving algebra as chewing gum. I think that. Yeah. We're going to worry, aren't we? But it's not useful. Yeah. And recognising that it's not useful could be, let's let go of it. What will be, will be.
That could take time to get to, but hopefully with coaching, we can help them to get to that point. So I'm aware that's a lot to think about. Everyone's situation is going to be really different. And as always, we can't say, here's one way to deal with a client's stress. Here's one way to work with a client that brings stress into the coaching room. So I think, first of all, we want to let them talk about what's going on, don't we?
Yeah, a very person-centered approach of letting them tell their story, finding out what the stress is all about, playing back maybe things that are just a story and not real. And I'm actually asking questions about what is real. You know, what are they actually making up within all of this? Because quite often that's
what assumptions they're making.
Yeah. So yes, I think working through Tom's code, we definitely explore the situation and what change they want to see, and maybe digging a bit deeper with some of the tools we've already mentioned could be a way of helping them to better understand it, and then using perhaps a cognitive behavioural approach to think about how they might address things in the future.
Yeah, how they might move forward. I think that's a really great start, and hopefully our listeners have found that insight into helping coachees very useful with stress.
Yes, thank you, Helen. Thanks for bringing that as a topic
to
the conversation.
Thank you for your insights there. Next time on the podcast, we're going to be talking about the psychological concept of flow.
Bit of flow, bit of Csikszentmihalyi.
Yes, absolutely.
Good. Look forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So do give us a rating on your favourite podcast platform and subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and we will see you very soon.
Thank you, Helen.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.